Hello, everybody! Today we will be talking about the lore and origins of Founder. But first, we're going to need a little history lesson because before we get to his actual origins, we are going to start with what inspired him. And let's begin. So, the thing is, chronologically designing this stuff, actually, the embodiments of light and dark came first. So back when I was younger, I played this dumb little game with my siblings. We called it Kingdoms. We had our toys, we pretended they were fighting monsters for us, and we were the kings of the kingdom. I was the kingdom of strategy. Yeah, I may not sound it, but that's what I did. My little brother, I think it was like speed or strength, where he switched between the two sometimes. Then my older brother, he was the kingdom of magic. So after a while, they kind of got bored of it, they stopped playing. I decided to take it up to write the lore. So the things that were attacking us were known as shades. They're the normal, humanish things of the dark realm. Then the darks, those are like the animals, like the bulls to pull stuff, or horses for them to ride into battle, yada yada yada. You get the point. And nightmares were the monstrous creatures, like mythological stuff, and yeah. And I also decided, you know what, if we have light, okay, yeah, if we have dark, we must have light. So I came up with the brights. Brights were the humanish ones, lights were the animals, daydreams were the monsters. You get it. And I decided they needed leaders. And this is where I must thank Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, because that one line where it's dark, the embodiment of darkness and chaos thing, that's what gave me the idea for the embodiments. So embodiment of dark led the dark, embodiment of light led the lights. You get it. Then I decided we need someone that created these guys, and that's where Founder came in. I first thought of creator, then I'm like, that sounds too boring. I need to find another word that means origin or creator and stuff. So yeah, I looked into that and eventually settled on Founder because I found that cool. And yeah, that's kind of the origin of how he was inspired. So thank you, Singular Line from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You started my YouTube career, or at least the story. Thank you a whole lot. So, either way, now we get into his actual lore. Long, way too long ago for even the embodiments to keep track of, there was only Fate, the embodiment of Fate. And Fate, being Fate, got bored. Whatever they are, they got bored. So, they created the embodiment of creation and the embodiment of destruction, dropping them in a white, never-ending emptiness. Yeah, that kind of sums it up nice. Creation and destruction initially fought, realized, oh wait, we're trapped, we should find a way out of here. They tried, their powers weren't strong enough to break out or create something livable inside, so they're kind of just stuck. So then, as they realize when they fight, their energies collide, it can create monsters and creatures. They tried to use that to create a powerful enough creature to get them out. That always ended up with monstrous things trying to murder them. Yes, and eventually, Destruction got fed up. He decided that maybe this was all a dream, or maybe this was a game that somebody was watching. Talking to you, Fate, wherever you are. And he decided, maybe, kill creation. Whatever is watching them, making them play this game, will let him go. So he attacks. And the battle begins. Creation versus destruction. Full force, no holding back. And that's when their powers were completely balanced and exactly square equal whatever. And that is what allowed Founder to be created. And then I beat the brakes off the both of them and told them to quit whining and fighting. Yeah, I really remember they were going all out and you were basically just napping as you easily beat them. I was not napping, but yeah, I beat them very easily. Either way, Founder then kind of created the Nexus core, which slowly and steadily created more universes and worlds, adding onto the Nexus Multiverse. Yup. I created that, used a little bit of my power so it could self-sustain, so I don't have to deal with powering it. And let me handle this. So, the adventure continues. The trio exploring new lands, and eventually, you found her. But at this point, we need a lore drop. Do we have to? Yes. So as some of you probably know, Founder is the embodiment of power. Chaos is his other half. But I know what you're thinking. Chaos is the embodiment of chaos and power. Founder is the embodiment of power and what? Founder, along with being one half of the embodiment of power, is also the embodiment of order. Back then, he was not called Founder, he was just Order. Yes, I used to go by Order. Now I order you to shut up. No, I will not be shutting up. It is fun mocking you. Either way, Order and the crew, they explored the universes. His creation and destruction convinced Order to create more embodiments. And eventually, Chaos was born. But he did not have a body. He was just living in the mind of Order. And he kept tempting Order to let him have control of the body so that he could spread chaos and cause destruction. Order obviously didn't like this idea. Chaos kept giving him visions of what would happen if Chaos got control of the body, but he painted it as if that's what would happen if Order didn't let him have control. He tried to make me think that letting him have control would stop what was happening in the visions, not cause it. And I obviously didn't fall for it. What is so funny to you? It's just funny that you did fall for it. So eventually, Order kept bothering Creation and Destruction about this. Creation and Destruction kept saying, oh, you're just going insane, calm down, take a breather. Yeah, that was a dumb idea on them. That is why I hate them. Yeah, you can shut up about that. Either way. So eventually, Creation and Destruction get utterly sick of your whining and complaining, and I get it, just get to the point. Yeah, they get tired of it, and they kick him out. And eventually, that drives Order to fury, and he finally makes the stupid decision of letting Chaos have control of the body. One of the most stupid decisions in my immortal lifetime. One of the most stupid? Okay, the most stupid. Happy? Yes. So Chaos, utterly obliterated the Embodiment Empire. The reason there are only a few embodiments left today are because, well, let's just say Chaos dealt with most of them. Yup. We can thank him for the utter lack of immortal entities trying to kill us all. Not all of the embodiments were insane. Really? Okay, most of them were. Either way, eventually Order realized, oh, this was stupid. I need to take back control. During the final fight, the main embodiments that, actually survived up to the modern era, along with Creation and Destruction, final stand against Chaos. This wasn't going well, they were losing, until Order finally retook control. And that was that. Order allowed himself to be sealed away while taking on the title of Founder, promising to never be called Order again, promising to bury that name forever. And look what you've done. Yeah, I remember you didn't like Order, because I don't like being associated with the psychopath that is Chaos. Did somebody say they needed Chaos? No, No, we did not. Plus, you're dead. So are you, Founder. Shut up. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah. Founder gets sealed away. He doesn't like being called Order anymore. If you mention that name one more time. Yeah, I'm gonna keep mentioning it. There's nothing you can do. Yeah, so eventually, long, too long to care about. Time later, Chaos is active. He's awake. Order is too busy napping to notice what his other half is doing. That was a mistake on my part. One of your biggest, but not my biggest mistake. We know this. Yeah, so Chaos was calling out to adventurers, telling, "I'll free you. Free me. I'll grant you any one thing that no one else will gain." Or something like that. It was, "Free me, and I will grant you something nobody else will gain." Ah, yeah, that was it. What nobody else will gain was a merciful death from him. Obviously, they expected, like, infinite power or something. Yup. The one adventurer that actually was dumb enough to listen came, found the statue that your body had been turned into, messed with the Guardian, somehow beat the Guardian, which was surprising. And then dumb things happened. Chaos ended up with control of the body instead of Founder, and Chaos kept his promise, giving the adventurer something nobody else will get. And then he went on the entire Season 1 Fall of Founder spree, eventually making his own body, and Founder got control of his original body. Chaos, that was a huge mistake on his part, because his body, even though the one that he had just created was more powerful than Founder's at the time, that was only because Founder's had been worn out, because he is not used to a body, he is not used to using a body. So he should have just stuck with my body, which he was at least slightly more used to being in control of, instead of an entirely new one. Yeah, I mean, the new one even had legs. Yours obviously doesn't. Yeah, that was kind of a dumb move of his. But either way, Founder blows up the Nexus core, scattering himself and Chaos's consciousness across the multiverse. Apparently, that was supposed to, like, just make you unable to regain your true form, but that obviously didn't happen now, did it? Yup, one of Chaos's shards managed to take control of a machine, turning into the entity known as Echo. Yup. Then the whole Rise of Echo plot happened. Echo stole your eye to use as a power source to find Chaos's eye, because the eyes are the main power source of the embodiments. Yes, my eye may be my main power source, where my power comes from, but if you take it, I still will have some power left before I, just run out and just, I don't know, die. I don't really die, I'm immortal. And you sure about that? Shut up. I mean, you've got him blown up and obliterated like 5 times. I'm pretty sure you can die. Just shut up. Either way, after another shard of me, Order, managed to also take control of a body, we went to Fate and got the Nexus Emeralds for Shadow. And then after a few more filler episodes, yada yada yada, we ended up with the Nexus Shadow versus Chaos fight. Yup. And Shadow, not understanding that the Nexus form was far, far more powerful, but also very different from the super form, burnt out and ended up using his form too quickly before he could obliterate Chaos, yeah. And then you came in and took care of that. I thought you destroyed his eye, though, but then in Season 3 it appeared. I did not destroy Chaos's eye. I merely teleported it to somewhere where Shadow could find it and guard it. That's what happened. Either way, your eye ended up shattering for some reason. Why did that happen? Not your business. And then it was given to some weird guardian things. Would it be prologue or prologue, I think, because that's before. Prologue to Season 3. Shadow and Sonic, they find the shards of your eyes, build you together, then Void jump scares and steals the newly rebuilt eye to use as a power source. Why am I always a stupid power source? Because I designed you that way. Good immortal being thing. I will murder you and mount your head on. Anyway, so all that chaos happened. Lots of people died. Why does everybody keep dying? Because you put characters like Amy Rose in the ring with immortal embodiments of all sorts of stuff. I mean, embodiment of power, light, dark, tech, time, literal embodiment of death. You really thought nobody was gonna die? Fair point, founder. Fair point. Yeah. Either way, Shadow gets ticked off. They meet a few more friends. Shadow's like, they're going to die. I do not need any more people on this team. Sonic's like, no, they're not. It'll be fine. And then proceeds to be wrong, I would assume. Yeah, Sonic was not right about that. And that's why the Shadow of this multiverse has trust issues. Aren't there multiple Shadows in this multiverse? Yeah, but the main one that we use... Wait, no, that one wasn't even originally from the Nexus. The original Nexus, Shadow got murdered in Season 2. Yeah, that's the word. Either way, Void, it gets the Nexus Emeralds. Shadow tries to use them, but Void had drained most of their energy. So it should have been an easy win, because a single Nexus Emerald is insanely powerful. A normal, pathetic human using it could probably take down Founder with it. Probably, but I'd still win because they wouldn't know how to use it. Yeah, but still. If it has the power to make a normal human able to defeat you, then all 7 are obviously powerful. Void collected all 7, but of course he didn't think to just use them in a transformation, instead just draining the energy from them. Shadow arrived when Void had drained about 45% of the energy from each emerald, so more than 50, and if there's 7, that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. 35% power difference or something. Is that right? I guess. 37% of Nexus Emerald power or something, I don't know. And Shadow still transformed. Yeah, into a state that was almost his Nexus form, but not as powerful, obviously, due to having less than half of the power. How did he beat someone with... If Void had 55% of the Nexus Emerald's power from each, that's like at least 3 Nexus Emeralds above Shadow. How did Shadow beat him? There's this little thing called Shadow is too angry to lose. What? Well, when he's fighting someone that did something to make him mad, he basically just gets the anger buff up to like quadrillion. Like, it's like the Doomslayer, too angry to freaking die. How does that make sense? Void had like 3 Nexus Emeralds worth of power above Shadow. How does Shadow win? Shadow wins because he's the main character. I mean, even Fate shouldn't have been able to say, oh, Shadow wins, because, Fate steers the story. Actually, right now, I'll get into that in a moment. Either way, Shadow wins, but not before accidentally freeing the End, because in this canon, the End is a lot more powerful. Shadow manages to not even defeat the End, but barely seal him away. And how much power was the End using? The End had just woken up after a multi-millennia long nap and wasn't even prepared. And he still went toe-to-toe with Shadow. Yeah, the thing is, fate is not the most powerful thing in the verse. The End is. Because it doesn't matter how fate steers the story, no matter how long he drags it out, there will always be an end. So, the end is inevitable. It cannot be denied. That's what makes the end so powerful. I mean, fate didn't even have any faith in Shadow being able to win. That's why he was so surprised at the end. And that's why he was nice enough to bring back most of Shadow's friends. How has this gone from a founder lore video to the entirety of the lore of the series? Just say it's the Nexus Multiverse Timeline or something. Yeah, I'll have to add some more stuff. I'll make a part 2 of this video, updating it in a few months or something. I don't know. But yeah, fate going toe-to-toe with the End wouldn't have won, so yeah, that's gonna be a problem because think what would happen if Shadow, now having the power of the End, if he can tap into it right without getting possessed. How many times has he actually gotten possessed while trying to use this power? I mean, I think one or two stop motions I've uploaded that happened. I've been working on 3 or 4 that also have that happened, but then I've gotten wimpy and not uploaded it. We're getting off track. Basically, to sum it up, fate created creation and destruction. Creation and destruction created Founder. Founder created the multiverse. Creation and destruction kicked Founder out. Founder got mad. Chaos took control, and chaos destroyed basically every embodiment. Founder regained control, let himself be sealed away, and then the rest is the 3 seasons of Fall of Founder. Season 1, Fall of Founder. Season 2, Rise of Echo. And Season 3, End of Oblivion. And Season 4 will probably never happen. And why is that? Because if you remember the post-credit thing at the end of the Season 3 finale, you know that, well, yeah, there's a new character introduced, but they don't have an official figure, which means I'd have to buy a custom, and I don't really have infinite money to do so. It can't be that expensive. Just 3D print it. Yeah, I'll probably have to end up doing that. Either way, yeah. That's the kind of timeline of the Nexus Multiverse. Have fun. Sorry for wasting 23 minutes of your life. Is it a waste if they're interested in it? Good point. Well, hope you had a good one. Goodbye.